So has learning always been a part of what McKinsey has done? I mean, obviously it's been to some degree a part of what it's done, but you mentioned sort of that transformation. How has that shifted over time, the importance that the firm has put onto learning as a core competency of the organization, or has that been fairly consistent over time?
I would say there's always been a baseline of it being important. So we have a two-sided mission. The one side, and we very much embrace both sides. So the one side is, of course, distinctive client service, having impact, long-standing impact with our clients. And the other side is attracting, developing, retaining the best people in the world. Literally, that's sort of the language that's used. And so if you think about that as being our two core missions, the attract, develop, and retain piece obviously means that learning and development and talent development is extremely important. And somebody said to me the other day, well, of course that makes sense because the only assets you actually have are your people, which is largely true, right? So yes, to a certain extent, it has always been a baseline. I would say though that in the last couple of years, the importance is increasing, and I think I've been hearing this last week. I heard this at the symposium. I'm hearing this from many other CLOs, that it seems to be only increasing in importance. And the same thing is happening at McKinsey. And the reason is because the pace at which capability building, the demands at the pace at which capability building is accelerating is pretty unprecedented. And I think with that, all different types of companies are sort of scratching their head going, how in the world are we going to keep up with this pace of capability building? And so then, therefore, it's if you will, elevating the importance of learning and development. Mm-hmm. So I feel incredibly lucky because McKinsey has always had that as a foundation of what they do. I also feel pretty lucky to be, if you will, living at this time, like doing this at this time, because it's a pretty exciting time in L&D generally. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How much, I'm trying to frame this question. I didn't really think about it until you just said that now, but how much of the client-facing work that you do, which is focused on, I think you were in telecom, you mm-hmm. know, working mostly with telecom companies when you were doing that work. How much would you say of what you're talking to clients, McKinsey partners are talking to clients about, is really learning work versus, you know, business strategy or, you know, restructuring or those sort of things that, you know, are typical more management consulting topics?
So I would say there's two, if you will, pieces to the answer to that question. One is capability building and learning has always been a core part of what we do with clients. Because by de facto, if you're going to have impact with clients, you can't just deliver a recommendation and walk out the door. They need to be able to actually do whatever that recommendation is, which inherently means there's going to be some level of capability building. Now, how we help firms do that, you know, has varied over time, but it's always been kind of core to what we have to do. I think the work that our organization practice, which looks at leadership development pretty intensively, has done recently, though, has highlighted the importance of leadership development as one of those top 5 things that CEOs, frankly, are thinking about. And so when that's what we're being asked by the CEOs, you know, our clients, then we're, of course, going to, you know, respond. And so we are thinking more about how do we deliver and help our clients deliver more effective leadership development. So I think it too is like the client service element of delivering learning is also accelerating because the CEOs in particular, the C-suite are asking for it.
Right. And you know, that ability to sort of transform yourselves and experiment yourselves is something that you can then share with the clients. And so that's, you're right, that is an exciting opportunity. So let's dig into that transformation and kind of unpack a few of the elements there. So, you know, you mentioned that you've been going through this learning transformation process at McKinsey. What was the beginning point of that? Why was this learning transformation seen as something that needed to be pursued, and what does it look like? What's the sort of the big picture goals that you're trying to achieve?
So I think we are, as I said, I think we've been transforming since I started this 12 years ago. So I feel like I'm constant transformation. That's exciting, actually. But this most recent, I would say, wave of the transformation is really driven by the two realizations. One is the clients are asking for different things from consultants. This isn't just a McKinsey thing. This is a broader professional services trend. right? So they're asking for different things. They're demanding different kind of service, if you will, service models and topics on which you're serving. One example of that, of course, is advanced analytics and digital and digitization, right? That's not something that existed really meaningfully 10 years ago in what our clients were needing support and help on, that it does exist now. And so we realized, we at McKinsey, and frankly, many other professional services realized you can't do that same type of work using the same type of people that we've had for the last 100 years at McKinsey. There's a lot of different profiles, which brings me to the second reason why this transformation is so important. We are exploding in the diversity of profiles in our firm. So, we've bought, for example, Quantum Black, which is an advanced analytics, company. Advanced analytics, the folks that are in Quantum Black look nothing like the traditional MBA the MBA path, traditional path that came in our door when I came in the door, right? So MBA, and then a couple years an associate, then an EM, then a AP, then a partner in the firm. And a Quantum Black person looks completely different. We also, for example, bought a firm called Lunar, which is a product development company. Okay, really, those people look nothing like the traditional McKinsey consultant, nor has their career path looked. And so you've got two things happening. You've got diversity of profiles in the firm, which is marvelous, because it's really, really incredible when you see it come together in the client space. But there are challenges with that, right, that we have to work through. We have to build the capabilities of the organization to work differently, right, to work with different people, to work in different groups. So there's that. And then, by the way, Quantum Black folks need a certain level of capability building around keeping top-notch, for example, as advanced analytics professionals or data scientists that, again, our quote-unquote generalist population of the past do not need. So when you put these two pretty powerful forces together, I think everybody went, ding, oh goodness, we need to rethink how we're doing this. We can't continue to have one journey, in the firm for one type of profile, of folks. We have got to diversify and do a bit better job of understanding the needs of all these different, if you will, profiles in the firm. So that was the big impetus.
So it's almost like McKinsey's a management consulting firm, but it's also a tech company in a way.
Well, I mean, I think, like, if you ask, yes, and if you ask almost any of our clients, they'll tell you the same thing, that they're all in some ways becoming a tech company. What's the digitization answer for them? And so that's actually, it's really interesting that you say that, because we, a couple years ago, started a thing called Partner University, which we can go into or not go into, but it's a sort of a blended program for our partners at the firm. This year is the second iteration of this 9-month to 12-month blended program, and the whole entire focus is on digitization and advanced analytics. Why? Because it is not sufficient just for some portion. I mentioned our Quantum Black, but there's many others in our firm that are doing, advanced analytics. But at the same time, it's not sufficient for just that group to understand what digitization and advanced analytics mean. All of our partners need to understand what advanced analytics and digitization means and how they can counsel their most senior C-suite clients around that. So we're having to do a very, sort of a heavy capability building effort, for our partners who, for very good reasons, legitimate reasons, have never done this type of work, don't know what it really means, but they need to. Because also their clients are saying the same things. Their clients are going, oh my gosh, all of my senior executives need to understand digitization. All of my senior executives need to understand the impact of advanced analytics. How are we going to do that? So I think, yeah, in some ways, McKinsey is becoming a kind of quote digital company, at least, right? But so are all others. Yeah,
and it was interesting kind of listening to some of the comments from the audience. It's like learning and development organizations are becoming tech organizations too. It's just woven into everything that we do now, and it's requiring stretches and capability building beyond what has been traditional.
Yeah, on a personal level, I used to say 3 years ago, sort of proudly, well, I'm not the technology person, so I can't tell you, about X or Y in the learning space and play ignorant. And I sort of said, you know what, I can't do that anymore. Like that's not actually kosher anymore for me being in the role and all of us in senior learning roles. It's not kosher anymore for me to say I don't really understand the technology or the effect that technology is having, as was mentioned over here.
We have tech people who do that.
We have tech people who do that. Not sufficient anymore. Now, we still do have tech people that do that are at a completely different level of depth than I am, of course. But it's not acceptable anymore, I don't think, as a learning professional for anyone to be saying, somebody else does that. I don't think about that, because it's just becoming so interwoven in what we do, whether it's mobile that was mentioned here, before, or any other thing. It's now part of what we need to understand and build into our L&D strategies.